Well, welcome everybody. Today we have Oscar, who started as an educator in the Vidal Sassoon Academy in London. In the past 25 years, he's traveled worldwide. He's worked in just about every city all over America. You were the head of education for Aveda in New York. In 1998, you began the tremendous task of putting your years of knowledge into ownership, and your salon is one of New York City's top salons. So welcome, Oscar.
Thank you very much. That makes me sound really good. Woo.
So how did you start your career? Did you always know from, we always like to know, like, how did this happen? Did you always know from a young age hair was your passion, or did you just it just found you?
It kind of found me. I was kind of a pretty very ordinary family. I got a twin brother, older brother, mum, dad. My dad was a bank manager, and I grew up. I'm going back to like the mid-70s, and unemployment was terrible. And if you ever noticed, I stuttered, and I was a really shy kid, but I didn't do very, very well at school. So my dad said, you can do an apprenticeship, and I was 14. He told me an apprenticeship, you get to work with your hands, and you can be a watchmaker or a jeweler or all these things. And the next day he takes me down to the office where you get your papers, and I had one paper, and it was for hairdressing. And I remember being like, Dad, I can't do this. And he was like, you just left school. But I had no idea that apprenticeship was at Vidal Sassoon, and it was really good. So I kind of fell into it, and it worked out to be fantastic. So I had no clue as a young kid I was going to be a hairdresser at all. It worked out great.
Tell us about your salon right now, and also give us some advice to salon owners that are struggling right now in the salon world.
Well, I sold my salon 10 years ago, and I still go. I still go back. I think nowadays owning a salon is one of the hardest things to do. When I had a salon, I had a team of commissioned stylists. You were all on the same kind of path. You had a bit of leadership. Nowadays it's like herding cats with a feather. So I think you're either going to be very good at that or really bad at that, but you've got to change with the times. I think I'll be saying yes to a lot more things than I'd normally say no to, but you have to. It's different. So.
Yeah. I love what you're saying. Like, you're either made for it or you're not made for it. And so how do you know when you're not made for it? Because in fact, a salon owner just called me today and said, hey, I'm selling my salon if you know somebody who's interested in buying it, and sent me that information. And so how do you know when it's time to call it quits?
I think exactly what that gentleman just did. I mean, there's lots of reasons to call it quits. I think the first nightmare that you face when you own a salon is that everybody that was your best friend is now your employee or you're their boss. So it's hard to separate that. You might not be the most liked person, but you might be the respected person. It's just a very difficult thing having. And when people quit, when they quit on me, it was really upsetting. I really didn't like it. I was really hurt. So some people take that like just a piece of water dropping off them. I never liked that. So, but I would have thought that as long as your numbers are doing good, and as long as you're pointing in the right direction, things will be pretty good. But it is difficult. Right now, it's the hardest time to own brick and mortar. It's difficult. I don't know. I know some people that are doing very, very well, but the majority have really had to change the way it's just less people coming in the industry, and it's harder finding people, it's harder keeping people. But maybe that's the new way you got to run a salon. Like a community versus you work for me kind of thing.
What are some of the things when you had your salon that you worked very hard towards keeping people? Because like you said, it's a little different now than it was back then. What were some of those best practices that you had for working with your team?
We had some prizes, like when you have a salon in New York City and it's kind of a groovy salon, then people had the chance of doing magazine work or doing videos or doing morning TV. There was all these opportunities. That's really changed now, because it used to be you would draw people to come to the city to get published, to work on magazines. There's less and less and less of that. So I think the incentive for people being in inside the city is the higher price that you can really charge. Like that's where your cachet value is. I get to charge $300 for a haircut. I don't know what the other big attractions are, other than New York City is a really great place to live, just really expensive, super expensive. So that's kind of the hard thing. Best practices was, I think that everyone that comes in and leaves should say hello and goodbye to everybody. It doesn't matter if it's a handshake, a kiss on the cheek or something, because if a couple of days go by where you haven't spoken to someone, all of a sudden Tina's like, Oscar doesn't like me anymore. Then one more day goes by and she resents me. So just that meeting and greeting. I was speaking to Van Council a few months ago. He's got a really big business, and he said he was in the salon and he said to a young lady, "How long have you been here?" He thought she was going to say a week or two, and she said like a year, and he was really shocked. So now he has a great practice that everybody that completes his education program, he takes out to lunch or dinner, and that's a really great practice just to get to know someone. You know, you're not taking out a great big team. You're just taking out that one person. So if I had a salon again, I would make sure that would be a really good practice. I thought that was wonderful.
That's such great advice. I love that so much. And I'm sure you have a whole list of best practices, but I think you gave me an idea because that's exactly what's happening in our companies.
Yeah.
Sean and I, they're growing so much and we're losing touch, we're losing connection. And I think that's everything as a leader, because everything rises and falls on leadership, and leadership rises and falls on communication. And so let's jump into communication, because I think that's a missing piece right now, especially with salon owners. And so what advice would you give salon leaders as they grow their business, as far as making sure that communication is part of their culture? And what does that look like to you?
I think having some pretty cheesy events, like always having, like, I'm not a very cheesy person, but my wife is, and she's really good at it. She's always doing like little evening things or morning things or bringing stuff in. I'm kind of terrible like that, so I'm not the best. I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm not the best person like that. But those things go a million miles. She used to get what was it? She used to get kind of fake cash, and just if someone had a really good week, it'd be $100 to spend inside the salon, inside something else. So she's very good at stuff like that. I'm not the most touchy-feely person, so I don't get into people's personal lives. But whenever you do go away for a weekend, I find out so much about someone. So I should be better at that, but I'm not. I'm kind of British like that, unfortunately. Like everything's okay as long as your heart's beating. So I'm not very good like that. I do have one really good skill set, and that is I'm always in a good mood. And the hardest thing is, as you get older, just nothing puts you in a really good mood. But I was blessed to have parents that were always in a good mood. And I think that's worked out really good for me. No matter what's happening in that day, when you get through that door, you're a big shiny day. Otherwise, your day just goes to crap. So I've done that for 40 something years. So being in a good mood is the hardest thing when and being in a general good mood, not like I'm in a cheesy good mood, but I'm really in a bad mood. No, to kind of be in there and kind of flourish is really difficult. And I find that kind of easy. So I think that's what, if I look back at what's really important, I had a lot of things against me, like stuttering and stuff like that. And I was really shy, but it worked out really good because I was always in a good mood.
Oh man, you are speaking our language. This is huge. And first of all, I love that you said cheesy events, because I'm about cheesy. Sean's not. So I kind of push him.
I'm with you there, Sean. Fridge magnets. She got these magnets that go on the fridge. It said something like "beautiful you" or something, and
that's me.
were. I wanted to just take my own life, but guess what? It worked out really good. And even to this day, people are like, I've still got that magnet. So sometimes you got to kind of go to the level of clients, and I hated all that, but it worked out really good. And so I'm there with you, Sean. I don't kind of like that cheese, but it does work out really good. spread it thinly, not too thick. So
That's so amazing. I love that. Yeah, coming up with ideas, like we've done leadership retreats and we do leadership games and communication games. And so I'm always trying to come up with something cheesy, right? So kind of talk about always being in a good mood, because talk to that salon owner that's like, man, leadership sucks. I always have to be in a good mood. Let's talk about the importance of that, because that's something that I've been coaching a lot of our leaders in our companies about. Like, you can't afford as a leader to ever be in a bad mood. So whatever it's going to take, you always have to be up here with the mood. Why, first of all, is that important? And what strategies did you use to always stay in that good mood?
I think when you're in a good mood, you're kind of setting the tone of what's around you.
Mhm.
Like, you can't walk into a meeting in a bad mood expecting everyone else to be in a really good mood. So it's almost like a preemptive attack to start with of like good mood. I think it came from like when I very first started work, I was told that you should always be in a really good mood. And I was really young and I had a really grumpy Scottish stylist, and I've been in a good mood ever since. I was kind of scared, but it's not easy. I was like, my wife, Wendy, she doesn't have an easier time getting in a good mood, but it's, there's one piece of music, it's Queen, Don't Stop Me Now. You cannot not be in a good mood when you're a satellite out of control. So there's certain things, it's just when you get to the door, whether it's family issues, financial issues, bankruptcies, whatever, you turn, and you've got to be that way and I was always told you got to be like a duck, like this on the underneath and that on the top. So try not to show, and it's very British not to show your emotions, like everything's fine. Life is falling apart, but everything is fine. Thank you very much. It's just difficult.
Yeah.
But I kind of come from a family that if I went home to my mother, she's 93, and I said, Mum, I've got kind of a funky kidney. I'm going to lose a kidney. She would say, oh, do you want a cup of tea? And that's about as far as it goes when it comes. Yeah, there is no like, oh, my soul. I think it kind of comes from there, but I'm always in a pretty good mood, and it's worked out well for me. I'm really blessed to kind of be able to go in that good mood area. It kind of keeps me safe. And there's always something to put you in a bad mood. Everything, right from the moment you wake up and the dog hasn't been taken out for a walk.
I love that you said a duck, because my daughter, who's our business partner, all the partners always call her the duck, because that's exactly how she is, right? And yeah, things are going crazy in life.
You don't show any stress.
You can't, as a leader, you cannot show the stress. And so what is your best piece of advice to be more that way, so to speak? So how can leaders get better at this? What advice do you give?
A lot comes back to that good mood, but also, I don't know if it's just a British thing or it's here, but we say no a lot more and very enthusiastically. Like, we don't say, like, you got to learn like that. No is not a bad word. And I think people get burnt out, and especially girls, you get burnt out more because you say yes to everything. That's personal life, that's professional life, that's family life. It's the kids, it's the next door neighbors, and then one day you just don't want to do anything. So a really good practice is your personal time is really important, and you've got to practice to say no, and you never say no. When you're in a bad mood, you go no. People have a really hard time saying no and managing to them while it's really important or not. They just keep saying yes. It's very much a hairdresser. Yes. So I think being able to say no, and you say it very enthusiastically, you never say it in like a bad mood, that manages your time better. People also get used to hearing the word no, and it's not that offensive. Here it's just a bad word, and it's really not. It's a very important word.
Yeah, great advice.
I love that.
It's difficult to say no sometimes, but if you say it, just don't ever say it when you're in a bad mood or if you're angry, because it comes over at a really big N and a no.
Yeah,
Absolutely. You spent a lot of your career in education.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the value of continuing education, because a lot of times people will leave the school, get in the salon, and they think that's it. They know everything they know. The salon owner's stuck in their ways. So talk about the value and some things that if you're stuck in your ways, you can do to shift that, to see the importance of education.
I think change is one of the hardest things that you do in hairdressing, and you've got to be a chameleon. You have to change. If you don't change, I talk really highly of Vidal Sassoon, but as a company, they never changed. And if you look at that, I mean, they were in a catch-22 because they built a company on what they were really good for. But change is, I do lots of hands-on classes. I could tell you what decade each person was trained in, whether it's the tools they're using, whether it's the approach they have to work. So I always enjoyed and blossomed working around younger, much more groovy people. So, and they make you change. I think nowadays with an independent, it's really hard when you're on your own and you're really comfortable as you are. No one's ever going to say to you, like, Tina, you're gorgeous, but you really shouldn't wear, blah, blah, blah. No one's ever going to say that. So I think just the camaraderie of having people around you, being kind of aware. Years ago, magazines just ruled the world. You would wait till the first day of the month and you'd see, like, it would keep you were interested in fashion. I don't know if that focus is there now. Like, I'm not that excited about things. I mean, I like Lululemon, I like American, and that's all I buy. So years ago, I was laser focused on who was taking the photograph, who was doing the makeup, who was doing the hair. It's a very different world now. I'm not very good with social media. You're looking at someone that has been hacked right now. I can't even get to my Instagram.
Oh no.
It just went private in one go. It was someone I know really well saying, would you vote for me to be an influencer? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, bump. And it went private, and I can't. I've sent loads of videos in. They keep saying it's not you. So I don't really like the internet. Yeah, I think it's a bit swampy. And your money's made outside of it and not in it, I think. So
yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, we've been talking with a lot of our newer stylists and to be careful about going down that mode of only building clientele from your social media, to actually get out there and network. And, you know, it's interesting. I just was at a networking event and it was incredible. I mean, every single one of these women would come to our salon. And I'm like, where is our stylist? Because they could have had about 80 new clients come in, but they didn't show up. So talk to that newer stylist, talk to salon leaders right now. They're spending so much time in the salon, but they're not getting out there. Why is that important?
I think that a lot of us don't know what we're doing on the internet, and then you see certain people do really, really well, like they've got hundreds of thousands of followers. Guess what? They're really good at Instagram. I've worked with people that have 600,000 followers, yet they haven't got a full classroom, and they're not very good at what they do, but they're really good at Instagram. So big numbers to me mean nothing. I would rather be part of something that is more elite. And if I had a salon, I would have a Facebook page for sure, but I'd have a closed group just for clients. I think it's a nice feeling being part of something that you're invited to, and if you're a salon owner giving stuff away, give it away to people that have given you business, and not just anyone, any grabbers out there. And if I look back at the single most important thing I ever did, my career started on probably the first week when I had to go outside the salon and find a model. I was 14. I had never spoken to a girl. I said, I can't do it. They said, of course you can do it. And it was kind of, you had to do it. So I walked up to someone. I said, my name's Oscar. I'm a hairdressing assistant. Could you come in? And she said, yes. I did that every day for 3 years. And after about 3 months,
wow.
I couldn't ask you out on a date, Tina, but I could walk up to you with a drink and a cigarette. I'm now 15. And I'll be like, Tina, you're really beautiful. I would love to do your hair. I would give you a card. I love that conversation because I wasn't a good talker. And that's what got me when I finished my training. The biggest key to my success was I was a busy hairdresser. And it was that conversation that made me busy. And I still do it. And you have to have a profile online, because if you're dark, that's even worse than having a bad profile. Yeah. But yeah, that's even worse. Like, no known person. That's kind of really scary. But I think if you walk up to people, and not people just like yourself, I think that's where all the kids go wrong. They're comfortable walking up to people like themselves. Those people don't pay you. They're called your friends. So the idea is I would take on anyone, because I might do a lady I have nothing in common with, but by the end of it, her son owns the biggest ad company in in Los Angeles, and this lady loves you. So do as many people as you can. They're all spiders, and get them to work for you, and just make their experience really good. It's not rocket science. Everybody must come back. That sits in your chair. I'm not very opinionated. I don't really show my opinions to people. It's whatever to get that person, and not just make them like you, but they're like a super fan. Like they will tell other people.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the best way to build, right? So
It
thank you
is.
for that advice.
And when you see someone that you don't do their hair anymore in the grocery store, instead of hiding behind the bushes beans, ask them why don't I do your hair? And they're going to give you an honest answer. 9 times out of 10, it's because you never had any ideas, and it's because you got kind of complacent. Like she'll come in, she'll take a seat. There was none of that first time experience. So maybe treating every client like a first time client, where you go through that series of questions and that series of like touches and feels and stuff, because they do miss that. My dentist calls me champ, and he has no idea how much that really annoys me. My name is right in front of him. I don't exactly look like a champ. Your mouth is like this, and it's like, hey, champ. And I feel like saying, I'm paying you all that money and you don't know my name. So maybe starting with someone's name is a really good thing, and not like honey sugar babe. So
amen. That's good. Great advice.
I love that. I love that you talked about the value of connections, because that really is what this industry is all about. It's about building those relationships and having those connections, and not getting complacent. And I think something as simple as, like you just said, saying their name. I think we get in that routine of like, you know, back in the day it was like honey or bit, like we just used a random word for everybody, because it was, you know, it just took that out of it, but it made it so impersonal. So what other advice can you give to continue to build those connections and maintain them with someone who's not a first-time guest?
I think when you do forget someone's name, you tend to resort to, instead of asking them again, what's your name? That's when the honey sugar babes kind of start. So stop. I'd ask someone 100 times, what's your name? And as far as I learned more about clients during COVID, because I went to their homes. I didn't like doing it, but it's kind of amazing. The clients you don't really like have really hard lives, and the clients that you really do like have the ones that are most simple lives. So it was nice seeing that part. It's nice if you can remember somewhat the conversation of what it was last time. And I do have I have a pretty decent memory that I can ask them about their grandchild or whatever it is, or EKG. So, what medication you're on? No, it's all kind of those classic comments to your 75 pluses. No, it's I don't find it. I think being in a good mood, people really remember you a lot more. I never had a clue as a kid. I left a good impression, and I do. Like, people don't kind of forget. It's not because I wear like freaky horse outfits or something. It's you leave a good impression. I think if you're a nice person. I've never discounted in life, but if new Sean has lost his job, you just say, this one's on me. Like, it's small little gestures like that mean the world. So I don't think it's rocket science. I think you got to know when to kind of give stuff away and when not to. It can become very easy to just keep giving stuff away. But if you make it like a reward like that, I think it's really good. I think people's hardest time in what they do in hairdressing is, and it's all of us, is we don't put our prices up enough. I've got this brown hound. Her name's Darcy. She cost me $72 to get a shampoo.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's more than most people's haircuts, and I gladly paid it. So if we as an industry had a little bit more of a backbone where people, like, you're going to hear it, but we used to put our price up twice a year at daylight savings. And it was there on the front desk, 3%, twice a year, 6% a year. And people would complain, but there's a lot of truth said in jest. This is the lady that just told you about the most expensive restaurant in New York City. That was just wonderful. Yeah. So it's, where they hand make the butter. But you're like, wow, that's and my haircut's going up by $3, and you feel like you can say something. So you've got to let it somewhat run off you.
Yeah. That's such great advice. And as we start to wind down, and we started this whole conversation off, it's really hard to be a salon owner right now. But there are salons that are thriving and are really growing. And as we adapt to the new reality, right? So of what's happening, what recommendations do you give to salon owners right now to really thrive and continue to grow?
I think that you've got to offer flexibility of time, which salon owners have always looked at a 5-day week, at a 40-hour schedule. That is out of the window. You want people to come to work when they're motivated, when they're going to be there, when they're going to be in a good mood. So if that's 2, 3, 4 days a week, I will be bending all rules for that. I think that is a definite. I also think salon owners, and this is going to sound terrible, but what people have been used to, which is 50-50, that's no longer a case. I'm not sure if I would work someone for commission, but I might work for someone if there was commission and a promise. Like you're more of a community where you have a piece in it. Like even if it's just 2, 3, 4, 5%, but you're working but you've got some kind of growth. I think everyone wants their time and to feel like they're growing and not just topping out. If I was a really busy hairdresser and I topped out at 50%, a little booth would look really attractive. Yeah. You know, so the idea is that as a salon owner, you've got to offer that person growth, whether it's an assistant, whether it's but you've got to keep your staff and be more involved in that way. Whereas before, it was just a mentality of straight 50-50 or 40-60, and I'll pay this, that, and the other. I think time and feeling that you're on a, I know some salons, there was a salon in London that's doing really well, and they were called what were they called? Not a community, not a combine.
Combine.
No, it wasn't, but it started with a C, not a community. But it was a really good idea where everybody had a piece of the pie. The salon owner had the largest piece, but they were all in it together. I think that will give you kind of growth. I also think it's really hard dealing with a young person's mind. I've got 2 teenage kids and you don't know where they are. You know, it's just difficult. So, I'm relying more on people around me than a game plan of what I had. I think everyone's in the same boat, but being flexible with time and being flexible, or I don't think if you say to someone you can do whatever you want, really makes them happy. I think they like to think that there's a path of growth. You know, like if you do this, you're going to get that. There's targets and growth, and that's what's kind of lacking with a lot of salon owners is they have no leadership at all. It's more like, well, here's your chair, just give me this, give me that, and do your best. I think no one likes a really strong hand, but everyone feels like you're going somewhere if you're being led.
Yeah.
That sounded quite profound.
That was profound. And,
it's my Donald Duck cup. That's what's doing it.
I love that so much because one of the books that Sean and I use with the salon owners that we coach is called Scale or Fail. And so how to scale your business is bringing in, and this has been our motto, is we don't hire employees, we hire future partners. And
that's fantastic.
And once salon owners start to take on that realm, and we can help you to do that. That's why we have so many people part of the Next Level Salon Leadership course, because we can help you to make that happen. So you're not what Oscar says is just, come on in and work for me. No, people are smarter now. They need a growth plan. And so this is absolutely huge. I'm so glad that you called out the elephant in the room, because that's exactly what it is. And we're really impeding people's growth, and people are
something that's really important in business is that it's okay to fail. Nobody likes to fail, but you might not succeed if you don't fail. And people, I think, are more fear of failure than they are wanting that success. If you do fail, yes, you can kick a can, but you've just got to kind of get over it and kind of move on. I think we're all, I'm not slighting hairdressers, but we are all somewhat, I will say we're all very creative, but we're very financially kind of illiterate. Like we don't know finances very well at all. You know, I started young. I had tip money that was party money. The other money paid for whatever. So I think any services that you can offer like that, but people have to accept that they need help. Like you're not just going to have this business. It's like a mushroom that just grows. It doesn't. It only grows where you water it, and you better water it with the right stuff and not the wrong stuff. So there was nothing like that. When the only resource that I had starting a business was friends that own businesses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there weren't any services, or the services no hair salon could ever afford. So the fact that you have a community, but being willing to say that I need help is kind of humbling. But you got to do it. Anyone I know that's very successful doesn't have that kind of pride issue where they haven't done something wrong in their life. Or
Absolutely.
It's not easy though. And I'm lucky I've got a really good wife. She's good with numbers. I'm not. I don't see those numbers, but she's very good with them. No, she's very,
And she's cheesy, and she's cheesy and good with numbers.
and putting good people around you is really important.
Mhm.
I was lucky. I started with a good family. I was really young, but I had really good people around me that would tell you things your parents couldn't tell you. They would get you drunk, but they'll get you home. I have worked with really good people. So it is your choice of who you get to work with, and it's really important. Work with the best people you can, and it rubs off. I could put my whole life down to just people around me. They've been wonderful, including you two.
Perfectly put. I couldn't think of a better way to end this podcast today, other than it is, it's the value and the importance of the people you surround yourself with. So thank you, Oscar, for joining us. It has been a true pleasure.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you, Tina. It was really nice. It was super nice. So I hope I get to see you on that show circuit. I'm doing the Long Beach show this weekend.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
Let us know how to find you. So as we close this out, let us know how to find you. What's the best way for people to contact you and to be involved in your program?
Call Instagram and ask them if they could unhack my account to start with. That'd be really good. And the new name I'm gonna have has to be, I had Oscar Bond 007, but I can't get that back. So it'll be some version of that Oscar Bond. I have no clue. Okay. I wish I could be like F you Instagram, but I can't do that. Yeah. I might call myself Wayne DeBond's husband. I don't know what to do. I'm really lost in that realm. But you can always find me in the phone book. So feel free. If anyone does need, if anyone does need help, kind of the best thing to do is just pick up the phone, call anyone you know, like me or Eric Fish or anyone. They would always pick up the phone. So I think people always think that's really out of reach. I needed help at one time, and guess what? People picked up like, hello, and that's how you start your kind of getting back to where you were, or to find out much better things.
I love that. We'd love to get Eric Fisher on our podcast as well too. So maybe you can help us make that happen. So
Eric and I are like this. We're kind of working on something, but Eric, I think, as an all-round hairdresser, friend, business person, has the greatest business in the United States.
Yeah,
he's loved. It's not easy. It's really not easy. He deals with as much problems as everybody else, but he's a real good walking example of how things should be. So I would definitely pass it on to him. I think he'd love to do it. Thank you very much indeed.
God bless you.
Thank you for sending the link.
Have a great day.
Thank you very much. Bye, guys.